a sudden silence has gripped the pulpit. Pastor John MacArthur, the fearless theologian, the unwavering voice of biblical conviction, and the spiritual father to millions, has just been rushed to the hospital with a life-threatening illness. For over 5 decades, his words shook the walls of complacency, but now, the one who preached strength is facing his greatest test of all: survival. As prayers rise like wildfire from every corner of the globe, a chilling question echoes louder with each passing hour. Is this the final chapter for a giant of the faith? In this video, we're uncovering what really happened, how his church is responding, and what this moment means for the future of one of Christianity's most iconic leaders. Brace yourself, because what we found may leave you speechless. Don't blink, because what's unfolding right now could shake the very foundation of modern evangelicalism. Pastor John MacArthur, the unwavering voice of conservative Christianity for over 5 decades, has been rushed to the hospital in what sources claim is a critical and life-threatening condition. The pulpit he once commanded now stands in silence. The man who never shied away from controversy, never bowed to cultural pressure, and never softened the truth, is now fighting a battle not from the stage, but from a hospital bed. But this isn't just about one man. It's about a movement. Whispers of a past health struggle have resurfaced, and with Grace Community Church refusing to release full details, one question is growing louder. What aren't they telling us? In today's deep dive, we go beyond headlines, revealing the moment the church was shaken, insider reactions from behind closed doors, and what this crisis could mean for the future of one of the most influential ministries in Christian history. You're going to be shocked by what's already happening. Stay tuned, because what we discovered will not only make you reevaluate your preconceptions, but also unveil a potent reality about legacy, leadership, and the frailty of even the most resilient people. It all began with a peaceful Sunday morning that quickly became anything from typical. As usual, Sun Valley, California's Grace Community Church was full. Thousands of people came in anticipation of their beloved senior pastor, John MacArthur, giving another frank and challenging message. However, something didn't feel right. MacArthur did not ascend the pulpit for the first time in years. Austin Duncan, the associate pastor, made an abrupt statement. He spoke in a serious, nearly tremulous tone. Pastor MacArthur has a major medical condition that prevents him from joining us this morning. Please remember to pray for him. They only said that. There were no more specifics or explanations, just a chilling sense of anxiety that blew through the sanctuary. The expressions of longtime members showed it: fear, worry, and uncertainty. There was a problem. Social media was overrun with inquiries in a matter of hours. Members' tweets, hazy Instagram stories, and speculative Reddit threads. Some questioned whether his age had anything to do with this. MacArthur is 85 years old, after all. Others wondered if a past health scare had subtly returned. Some even thought this might be more than a medical problem. It becomes even more enigmatic from this point on. Only a few days prior, MacArthur had made public appearances, preaching, interacting with members, and even recording his radio show without displaying any indications of difficulty. What next transpired over the course of 48 hours? 2 anonymous individuals close to the church leadership claimed that MacArthur passed out at home and was taken in strict confidence to a private medical facility. No media notification, no public ambulance. It was all done in silence. However, why the secrecy? Why is there no official health update from the church? Why do even employees hesitate to speak up? We will discuss all of it. You must first listen to how the church community responded to the news. You might be surprised by the response. There was an unsettling silence at Grace Community Church. As soon as the announcement was delivered, people's grips on their Bibles tightened. People bent their heads. Lifelong members' cheeks were filled with tears. This quiet was deafening to a congregation used to impassioned, audacious preaching from the pulpit. John MacArthur's more than simply their pastor, you see. Their spiritual father is him. Some of these families have been under his leadership for 2 or even 3 generations. Numerous people had been converted to Christ by his teachings, had their marriages saved by his advice, and even brought up their kids according to his infallible interpretations of the Bible. People didn't hesitate when Pastor Duncan requested the congregation to start praying right away. In only a few minutes, groups were forming all over the sanctuary, voices shaking, knees bent, hands clasped. There was only unadulterated, sincere prayer, no phones, no distractions, no whispers. the emotional impact was equally strong outside the church's walls. Supporting letters flooded the Christian community on the internet. From all over the world, thousands of tweets flooded in. "Tonight, I'm praying for Pastor John MacArthur. This man has always stood for the truth. I'm not prepared for this. He is essential to us. He is needed by the church. Please, God, send your servant back. Pray for MacArthur." The hashtag number symbol soon became popular among Christian congregations. Prominent Christian leaders started offering sincere prayers and homage to MacArthur, including those who had previously disagreed with his more conservative theology. It was more than simply worry, though. This unexpected health issue served as a sobering reminder to many of how much the modern church had depended on the voice of one man. Midweek services were converted into vigils inside Grace Community. The aisles were lined with candles. Worship was more somber, contemplative, and quiet. Elders recited selected biblical passages in place of a sermon. Many of these were topics on which MacArthur had delivered well-known sermons. Psalm 23, 2 Timothy 4, Romans 8. The ministry for teens and young adults included some of the most poignant moments. Stories of how MacArthur's teachings helped them deal with melancholy, identity issues, and concerns about their religion were told by dozens of teenagers, many of whom had only known him as their pastor. "I was going to end my life in 2021, a young woman, barely 19 years old, confessed, her eyes welling with tears. Pastor MacArthur's teaching on God's sovereignty caught my attention. I experienced a sense of being seen. I felt saved. Don't take him now, please." Despite their strong theological differences, some competitor churches in the Los Angeles region sent cards, flowers, and recorded public prayers for MacArthur's recovery. "You can't deny John's influence, whether you agree with him or not," stated a local pastor who asked to remain unnamed. "We do not wish to lose him in this manner." The church board started to get hundreds of letters and emails. Some are from former members who are now spread out across the nation and have long ago moved away. Others from pastors all around the world who had used MacArthur's teachings as the foundation for their ministries. The texts express gratitude in addition to concern. His steadfast, uncompromising preaching was the reason behind testimonies of change, tales of second chances, marriages rescued, and addictions broken. However, a rising wave of fear accompanied all of this sensation. If MacArthur was unable to return, who would take over? Was a strategy for succession in place? Without him, would the church be able to survive? Although nobody wanted to ask these things aloud, they were on everyone's thoughts. What occurs if the person you've relied on for spiritual assurance shows signs of weakness? When a faith community's base seems to be crumbling, how does it adapt? And just when it appeared that the church had fallen into a state of communal sorrow, something occurred that sparked new questions and renewed hope. A purportedly leaked message started making the rounds on the internet from within the MacArthur family circle. Let's just say that the message's contents presented a completely different picture than what the general public had been informed. Something unexpected struck the digital underground just as the public was beginning to settle into the story of an unexpected but private health issue. A purportedly leaked correspondence from a member of the MacArthur family. Official church accounts did not broadcast the message. Rather, it initially surfaced in a small, exclusive Facebook community devoted to the theology of the Christian Reformation. Pastor John had been ill for weeks, but he didn't want to alarm the congregation, said a snapshot that was later verified to have come from a member of the inner circle of Grace Community Church. He declined to resign and to postpone any speeches. Although we were worried, he maintained that he had a responsibility to fulfill. He passed out last Thursday night at home from what the doctors now think was a heart attack made worse by untreated pneumonia. You read correctly. Pneumonia and a cardiac attack. Furthermore, the disclosure indicated that this was more than a transient illness. It had apparently been accumulating over time, concealed by MacArthur's renowned work ethic and unyielding attitude. However, this posed a more urgent query. Why was there no information provided to the congregation? Why didn't church officials reveal that their senior pastor had been enduring symptoms that might have been fatal? Reactions were quick. Some referred to the church's silence as a kind of defense, protecting the privacy of their leaders and averting needless fear. Others, however, weren't so certain. Why didn't anyone speak up if he was this ill? Was he under any pressure to continue? Did the pulpit take precedence over his own health? These are the awkward queries that started to appear in Christian forums and on social media. Remember that Grace Community Church has already faced criticism for its internal management of leadership issues. In 2020, when the pandemic was at its worst, MacArthur made news for publicly disobeying California's shutdown orders. Both the claim and criticism surrounded his choice to keep the church open. That audacious resistance solidified his standing as a brave leader in the eyes of many. However, detractors contended that it was a reflection of a more pervasive culture of secrecy and opposition to outside accountability. Therefore, it was difficult to overlook the similarities when this leaked message disclosed that MacArthur had been disobeying medical advice, apparently refusing to take a break from preaching or seek early medical attention. Was this a risky reluctance to show weakness in front of his flock? Or was this the same unyielding bravery that his admirers admired? Then there was another twist. According to an anonymous former church intern who spoke to a Christian watchdog blog, MacArthur was clearly having trouble on stage in the weeks before his hospitalization, coughing and relying on staff for assistance. He refused to sit in a chair. We could see that he didn't want to look weak. He was dwindling. Nevertheless, he continued to ascend the steps, open his Bible, and deliver lectures that hundreds of people held to as indisputable fact, Sunday after Sunday. It is both terrible and motivating to see a man preaching despite suffering because he is desperate to keep his followers from witnessing his weakness. It brings up important issues such as the weight of leadership, our expectations of spiritual leaders, and the thin line separating self-sacrifice from strength. The most terrifying aspect, though, comes next. The final line of the leaked message is still reverberating throughout Christian media. This season might be his last. Get your hearts ready, please. A storm was started by that one line. Is a terminal sickness acknowledged here? Are we living in the last days of John MacArthur's life? Or is there a chance for rehabilitation and an unexpected comeback? The church's silence further added to the uncertainty as rumors began to circulate. There were only ambiguous exhortations to pray and have faith in God's timing, no press releases or video comments. However, not everyone was prepared to wait in silence. Reporters, bloggers, and even former church leaders started assembling chronologies, examining health trends, and reaching out to medical sources. According to some, they have uncovered additional information that the church may be deliberately attempting to conceal. A fresh wave of worry has started to emerge as word of Pastor John MacArthur's condition keeps spreading, not only about his health, but also for the future. If the unimaginable occurs, who is in charge of Grace Community Church? Longtime members of the church, many of whom have never witnessed the church under any other leadership, find the question unsettling. John MacArthur has been the anchor, the shepherd, and in many respects, the embodiment of grace since 1969. This is where things become more tricky, though. No obvious successor exists. MacArthur has never designated a spiritual heir, in contrast to numerous megarches or ministry empires. Although he has coached numerous pastors, many of whom have gone on to become global church leaders, none of them have been openly positioned as the next in line. Additionally, a silent power struggle has emerged as a result of this ambiguity. Internal talks are already in progress, according to many people close to the church's elder board, behind closed doors to figure out how to maintain the stability of Grace Community Church without MacArthur. The problem is that everyone has a different idea of what that future ought to entail. Associate Pastor Austin Duncan, who has frequently occupied the pulpit, is seen by some as the obvious candidate. He has gained the esteem of many people and has been devoted and theologically aligned. Others counter that although Duncan is observant and well-behaved, he lacks MacArthur's charismatic personality and his unwavering ability to confront culture head-on. Next up is Dr. Abner Cho, who serves as president of the Masters University and Seminary, a significant establishment that was established under MacArthur's direction. Cho is youthful, bright, and fervently doctrine-reformed. Some regard him as the link between the new generation of believers who are eager for nuance and cultural relevance and MacArthur's old-school dogmatism. According to reports, still another group is advocating for a leadership rotation, a group of elders who would divide up the preaching duties while preserving MacArthur's legacy. However, the church, which has relied on one man for answers for decades, is not accustomed with this concept. Then there is the religious group. There are disagreements even among the leaders of Grace Church on the degree to which MacArthur's precise teachings should be followed. Should his rigid views on Calvinist soteriology, cessationism, and gender roles be preserved? Or is there space for adaptability in a cultural environment that is changing quickly? All of this, the uncertainty, the conflict, and the need to pay tribute to a legend without turning into his absence is paralyzing people, which is causing a storm to form below the surface. Furthermore, the larger Christian community is undoubtedly keeping an eye on things. If MacArthur leaves, ministries that have long supported Grace Community Church are preparing for a backlash. Will their alliances last? Will donors withdraw? Will young pastors who receive training in his system change their loyalty? Not to mention that MacArthur is more than just a church executive. He is a brand. His publications, radio shows, conferences, and sermons attract millions of listeners and followers on sites like Grace to You. That infrastructure is mostly dependent on his persona, voice, and name. Can the brand continue to exist if his voice is lost? According to some insiders, the leadership has already begun pre-recording MacArthur's lessons for future releases. According to rumors, a kind of legacy vault containing sermons, commentary, and even AI-generated Bible responses based on his teachings is being developed. It's unclear if that's real or just internet rumors. However, there's no denying that Grace Community Church is at a turning point. Its creator might not take the pulpit again, and the church's actions will either strengthen or weaken his legacy. And just when it appeared that there was no more room for doubt, MacArthur's family broke their quiet with a message that was both poignant and enigmatic.